Welcome to Sunshine Cathedral's Queer God Squad. It's Thursday, August 8th, 2024. I'm Reverend Dr. Darrell Watkins, the senior minister here at Sunshine Cathedral.
I am Reverend Dr. Robert Griffin, the executive minister. Faith and religion can be complicated for the LGBTQ plus community. Surveys show that evangelical faith is the justification for the greatest attacks on the LGBTQ plus community.
I am Reverend Kevin Tisdall, the Minister of Education. The Queer God Squad is going to explore our religious community. Let's explore the big news of the day and what it means to you.
I am Reverend Dr. Ann Atwell, the Minister of Connections. This is live, and then we are available on demand. If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform and social media.
At Sunshine Cathedral, we're here to tell you that you are God's miracle, not God's mistake.
This is the Sunshine Cathedral perspective. Natick churches vandalized with anti-LGBTQ messages, flags torn down and replaced. Two churches in Natick, Massachusetts were vandalized this week in similar incidents targeting their LGBTQ plus symbols. According to Reverend Cindy Worthington-Berry at First Congregational Church, the pride, transgender, and mental health flags were quote-unquote crumpled and thrown under bushes. Christ Lutheran Church experienced a similar act. In this incident, banners featuring the Reconciling in Christ logo and a rainbow flag were replaced by a Christian flag and a Jesus is King banner. The images were similar to the ones both churches, known for their open and affirming stance toward LGBTQ individuals, were left with anti-LGBTQ rhetoric and the Christian flag. The events were eerily similar to the calls from Supreme Court Justice Alito's wife, Martha Ann, who talks about wanting to fly the Sacred Heart of Jesus flag in response to having to look at a pride rainbow flag. Both Worthington-Berry and Reverend Christophor Gilbert of Christ Lutheran have condemned the act. The Queer God Squad looks at the acts of vandalism as a painful reminder of the ongoing struggle for LGBTQ plus inclusion in religious spaces. We believe that intolerance contradicts the message of love and acceptance that is central to many faiths. True faith should uplift and embrace all individuals. We at this table recently talked about another crazy person who is advocating violence. And I don't care how we look at it. This person was advocating violence in their state, and they said that they were ready to go to jail because of it. Well, this is what that kind of rhetoric brings out.
Yes.
That's right.
You've got people now that feel comfortable in a whole nother state. This was Midwest, now we're on the East Coast, a whole nother state that are taking action. Right now, they're just destroying property, but that's a slippery slope. Yeah. Eventually, they're going to, in my opinion, I always got to say that, don't I, ramp things up to the point where we are going to be physically endangered by the insanity that's being pushed by Christian nationalism. And again, it is Christian nationalism that is pushing people into these kinds of behaviors. It just boggles my mind that in this day and age, it's the year 2024. We are supposed to be an advanced society. We are supposed to be a nation that follows different religious tenets, and all of those religious tenets say the same thing when it comes to loving one another. There is not a golden rule that says hurt somebody. Every golden rule, every variation of it says love somebody. So when stuff like this happens, we have to, I think, look at the genesis of where it's coming from. And where it's coming from is a sense that anything that is different from what the Christian nationalists believe in, and that means any other religion, any other belief, any other thing that you want to do, if it goes against what the Christian nationalists want, they're going to go out, destroy your property, and eventually, I truly believe, start hurting people.
There is no such thing as a Christian nationalist because Christianity is a global movement. It's never been the property of one nation. And the nations that it was dominant in, you're way up in the double digits before you get to the United States. Spain was Christian way before there was the United States. France was Christian before there was the United States. Rome. So you've got a long way to go. Our clock number isn't very high, on the thing. And so it's just a lie anyway. That Christianity is about the realm of God, and the realm of God doesn't have geographical borders. And the realm of God is not like empire. It's an anti-empire. It's over against empire. And so it's where the last are first and the first are last, and where you love your neighbor, and where the goal is peace and harmony. And so Christian nationalism is the worship of a nation and using Jesus as your mascot.
Yes.
Which is the last thing Jesus would want to be. In fact, nationalism executed Jesus.
Yes.
And
right.
so it just doesn't fit. It just doesn't fit. But when I read about this, the destruction of property, the vandalism, I just immediately thought of Jesus, who in one of the Gospels said, the thief only comes to kill, steal, and destroy. That's what the thief does. The thief only comes to destroy, only comes to just tear things up and make a mess and cause chaos. Now, Jesus, in that gospel, that portrayal of Jesus is Jesus confronting religious zealots, the Christian nationalists of his day, the fundamentalists of his day. That this sort of religious zealotry, this sort of religious anger and fundamentalism, all it does is kill and destroy and make a mess of things. And here it is played out, that when your religion is ugly, you'll never be better than your God. Yes. So if you have an ugly God, you're going to worship that God in ugly ways, and you're going to be ugly in the world and ugly to other people. And so here again, we see toxic religion doing what it does, being destructive, being hurtful, killing, stealing, and destroying. So if you're that concerned about Jesus, you might want to think about some of the things he actually said and some of the things that he lived and even died for.
Now, this is a reminder to me, again, of the power of words. When someone has a fairly public platform, like Alito's wife, and she made those statements that she didn't want to see the rainbow flag and she was going to fly her flag. Well, go ahead and fly your flag. Exactly. Go and fly your flag. Fly your flag. That's great. But saying that and targeting a specific population, those words have power, and people are going to hear that, and then guess what's going to happen? Now, that may be, I don't know, maybe it's what she wanted. I truly don't know. I can't direct that directly at her. But what she said.
Words matter.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly. Cause things to happen, for good or not. So,
I think we have been seeing in our country an escalation for several years now of this type of behavior. And I think that this escalation we're seeing continually focus more on the LGBTQ community and some other communities as well, and targeted communities. And that's the thing that hurts me about when I hear this type of story about this vandalism, because that's a community that has provided a safe place for someone to come and for someone to be. And that could be that place that that's the last person stopped before they move on to something else, to find the comfort, the care, the compassion that they need. And then here's the thief in the night trying to destroy what someone is calling for: unity, peace, and love. And that never wins in the end, and so my hope for this community as they go through their recovery process is that they become even more emboldened, more enlightened to share more of what they have together as individual churches as well as a community. They're called to action to come together and unite more as a community to stand in face of this kind of activity. And because if they've done it to one of these two, it will happen to somebody else.
Right.
So it's not if, it's just a fact of when.
Lutheran and Congregational, those are very mainline, mainstream, historic denominations. And if they're too radical for you,
And if you're reacting to the symbol, then only a matter of time before they react to something else that someone else is doing. And I'll just echo the same thing around Justice Thomas's wife, Martha Ann, with her Sacred Heart of Jesus flag. That's an exclusionary flag. That is a flag that does not include everyone.
Right.
That is a particular.
not even for Protestants.
Exactly. So if she wants to fly her flag, sister, the armed forces, the veterans have ensured you the right to fly whatever friggin' flag you want to fly. And it also has ensured others to fly the flag that they want to
fly. Yep.
And so you don't get to say your flag is better than anyone else's flag when they want to fly it on their own property. They have rights just like you. And if you need to be reminded of that, just ask your husband about who's entitled and not entitled to some rights in this country. He may have a different take on it, but at the end of the day, justice does prevail.
You know, why the Congregational Church?
Yeah.
Why the Lutheran Church? Why the Episcopal Church? Why any church? Why churches? Why? Because they fly this flag. Because they say we love people that other people may not love. We include people other people have demonized. We see the humanity and the divinity in people that you don't even want to talk about, you don't even look at. Well, there's one word for that, and it's called love. And love is so threatening because it cannot be controlled.
Right.
That's what's so hateful about it. Hate, fine. You preach a God of, Gene Robs used to say this, isn't it fine that you can preach a God of hate all day long? No one cares. You preach a God of love. People are in the streets, coming for you with torches and pitchforks. And it's true, because love is uncontrollable. Love can't be owned by just one group. Love can't be controlled, can't be legislated, can't be ruled against, can't be wiped out. If the Easter story has any meaning for us, it's that it can't even stay dead.
Right.
And so love is very countercultural. Love is very threatening to toxic and oppressive theologies and rhetoric and politics. And so thank you, friends, allies, members of the community, for flying your flags, whatever they are. I love the bear paw flag. I mean, whatever flag it is, fly your flag, because what you're saying is we love people here. And we know that humanity is a very diverse family, very diverse group of people, and we celebrate that. And yeah, that's going to make people crazy, and crazy people are going to act crazy, but that's because you're throwing holy water on the devil. You're putting a cross in front of a vampire. You are hiding up the symbol that they can't control, they can't diminish, and they can't redefine, and it makes them even crazier. So keep doing it.
All right.
What you were just talking about, I am a child of the 60s and 70s, and the love culture back then was so pervasive. And just like you just said, so many people were riled up in the wrong way about people preaching love.
Yeah.
Love, brother, the peace symbol.
Those dirty hippies.
Those dirty hippies. So it's not brand new. And it goes back millennia. And it happened in our lifetime that the word love was besmirched by so many people because they didn't understand that we really are supposed to love each other.
Yeah.
It's easy. I don't understand why for some people it's easier for them to hate than for them to love.
I want to tell Christians of all varieties, cultural Christians, evangelical Christians, Roman Catholic Christians, Anglicans, whatever, everybody. There's a thing that we all share, whether you do it once a year, once a quarter, once a month, once a week, and it's called communion. I think the Christian Scientists have what they call spiritual communion. I don't think they use the elements, whatever, but everybody has some kind of thing of communion. And the thing with communion was, union with, it was centered around table fellowship. People sat in each other's homes. There used to be churches. You had to go private place. And they sat at each other's tables, and it broke every rule. Because this has started out as a Jewish movement, but now they're welcoming Gentiles. So people who had dietary restrictions are now eating with people who don't. Big controversy. There were a lot of dining rules, what you could eat and who you could eat with, and communion screwed all that up. Because with communion, everyone could sit at the same table and eat the same food. It was about love, it was about inclusion, and yes, it was countercultural, and yes, it got people killed. The person who the meal is meant to remember got killed for that very sort of thing of welcome and inclusion and love. So if you have communion, you take communion ever, I hope you never take it again without remembering where it came from. It came from tables welcoming people who had never been welcomed together before and changing the world just by defying food restrictions and social restrictions. We're all going to come together, we're going to eat at the same table, and that's going to change the world. And it did, and it still can, which is why when you fly your flag, people get mad. Keep flying that flag.
All right.
Well, that's today with the Queer God Squad. We want to thank you for joining us. We're here daily at 3 p.m. to have some fun and discuss what our LGBTQ plus community is talking about.
Sunshine Cathedral is the world's largest progressive queer church. Progressive, queer, and God are words that naturally should go together. And we are all in this together. Remember that.
You are God's miracle, not God's mistake.
Until next time, we are the Queer God Squad. Goodbye.